Guys, check it out. We got the walking simulator build where all we need to do is just walk, and you can see everything just melts. This is world tier 4, and yeah, you could literally just delete the entire new content. If you want to engage with getting all of the restless rot and stuff, I mean, we just walk and everything does die. And the coolest part about this build, guys, you probably wouldn't believe it if I showed you guys, but I'm serious when I say my glyphs are literally level 1. I haven't even finished this build, and it was just a question that was asked every 5 seconds, which was, yo, what's this build? I need it. So let's go ahead and hop into like a quick little rundown. This is kind of like a quick build guide. So for starters, you cannot play this though, just as a heads up, you cannot play this at level 1. It just simply won't work. You're going to require a few different things to get this build up and running, but there are 0 mythics. So it's something that everyone can actually achieve without mythics. Obviously with mythics this build would be much better, but we're still in the earlier stages. And again, I literally only have, as far as glyphs go, you can see I don't even have a lot of these slotted in yet, and that is because I'm still progressing. But I'm going to be able to basically finish this build very soon, but getting the mythics, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But I want to give you guys this build early so you guys can have it. So for starters, let's go over the build guide, and I will also put this down below in the pinned, or if you're watching this on TikTok, the link in the bio will have all of these things, so you'll have all of the best stuff. I don't have the best gear right now, but I want to mention, because one of my viewers, shout out to DMC, he showed me like what this build can do at the later stages. He's hitting for quintillions of damage in the negatives, so I don't know if anything can even survive this amount of like damage in the game. If we're running into like the negative numbers, yeah, this game is pretty crazy with some builds. This is basically what it kind of reminds me of, like the Spiritborn. It seems genuinely way too overpowered, but this build will have 100% overpower, 100% crit, and it will have like no resources to manage. There is one thing to manage, and that is to make sure that you're using a specific rune word. Just as a heads up though, you cannot play this build without the rune words very effectively. So it does have some requirements. So the first thing I want to go over that is absolutely required is some way to activate Zan rune. The things that are required for this build, you need Zan rune. You also want to have the Menorach ring. Technically this and this is optional. You just have to get enough cooldown reduction for the build to function properly. But the main thing to actually focus in on is you need Zan and you need to get Menorach ring, because it gives you, those are like the two main things. If you don't have those, I wouldn't even say the build is worth running, but it's not like these are going to be impossible to get. It's not even like a mythic or getting like a triple or quadruple GA or anything. But for starters, let's go over the skills, and I'll show you guys how to activate them. We'll go over the gear, the skill tree, and all that. So first off, the skills. So what we are using is Hurricane. Hurricane gives us plus ranks to our Cataclysm, because it gives us ranks to specifically all of the shape-shifting skills. And when we use the Tempest Roar, our Werewolf are also going to have the ability to have the base Storm skills converted to Werewolf. So that's how we are getting that bonus. So that's why we use Hurricane. It also gives us damage reduction. And then we use Maul to become Werebear. When we are Werebear, we get these other bonuses. And shape-shifting is kind of a thing in Druid where you want to shape-shift in between. We do run the Mad Wolf's Glee. Ideally, we run Shroud of False Death or Tyrael's, but this is a no mythic version. This is going to be like the basic beginner-friendly version of the build. So later, though, we will be making it a mythic version. But we need somehow to convert ourselves into Werebear, and we wanted to make sure it's a that it is a basic skill. That's why we run this one, because how it works with the Zan is that our next non-basic skill activates 100% overpower and crit. So this is how we get 100% overpower and crit. It's with this, but we activate this to kind of go into a Werebear form. And then I'm running this right now to make it way more beginner friendly. We are comboing Naguzek. Naguzek is part of a new system because it works off of the companions or the summons. So how it works is, as long as we maintain at least one summon, and it can be up to 6, we get plus a huge bonus to our rune activation, which is going to reduce our ultimate cooldown. There is another option, and I even put it in the planner, which is running another setup with something called Quacks. Quacks will give us more damage. Honestly, I feel like the damage is pretty good right now, but if you want to get into like the negative numbers, you probably need to get every single pinch of damage that you can possibly get to. It's more so just a flex really than anything. But the reason why I'm running these is just to make sure that we can 100% uptime without getting like Harlequin or getting any of the high rolls on certain cooldown reductions. It just allows the build to be a lot more beginner friendly. So that's why we run the pets, because again, it just facilitates activating all of the cooldown reduction that we want for our ultimate, because if we're not in ultimate form, it doesn't do damage, because this is the walking simulator Cataclysm build. Without Cataclysm, we ain't doing damage. If you want to, though, with leveling up, by the way, I mean, all you really need in this game is just get Aura of Siphoning, level it up, and you will just breeze through the content. You can get up to, like, Torment 2 pretty much with just, like, the Witchcraft powers, but obviously, like I said, this build you can't play at level 1, but you get the Witchcraft powers, and then you could breeze through the content. But yeah, that's why we run the pets right now. Cyclone Armor is just there so we can get some extra stats, because I wanted this build to be very lazy. You can run a Shout variant of the build, but the Shout variant does require you to kind of monitor yourself a little bit more. If you want to run those instead of the pets, by all means go for it, but it's up to you. You can swap this out for any other thing like a Bulwark or whatever. I just like it because I don't have to push the button. I'm trying to make this build as lazy as possible, as in, like, I want the player to not have to require a lot of specific timings other than this. If you run the other one with the Quack's Rune, then it becomes a little bit harder to maintain. And again, the pets will just make everything so much easier. But that's why I have it set up for this. So pretty much what you need to do is make sure that your next skill cast, because this has to build up, this little white line indicates how far it is built up, and you activate it and it is going to give you the 100% overpower and crit on your Cataclysm. Ideally, you want to cast Hurricane right before Cataclysm, because this will give you the bonus ranks. So that's the skills in terms of how we use them. Now let's go over the skill tree real quick, and then we'll go into the gear. So this is the skill trees. So as far as it goes, we want to get Maul. Then we want to get all of this like damage reduction. That's why I run Werebear. We also want to increase our maximum spirit. This will give us more damage, even though we don't spend spirit in the build. We're getting this extra damage reduction over here, and we're able to run Cyclone Armor without putting a point into it because we have the shape-shifting skills are also the Storm, so that's how we get it, because we get plus ranks to all of the Werewolf skills, which are also now part of the Storm, so it just gives us this for free. But if you need to put a point to it, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Then we put 1 point into the Wolves so we can run them, and then Ravens we have to put 3 points into, so we can get 2 additional Ravens. It just, again, facilitates the runes, so we have it up 100% of the time. We get some damage reduction, extra HP, and then we're getting Hurricane. Hurricane gives us some damage reduction. We get all this like lightning stuff. It's part of Cataclysm, gives us damage. We're in Werebear form, we get extra HP over here, and I like that. In Venom, we actually proc in Venom with one of the Witchcraft powers. It is the aura that just does poison damage, so free damage over there. Then we get Natural Disaster, Defiance. Resonance is okay to take as well. It just gives us the lowest stat number. I opted to get Defensive Posture. I just want the build to feel a little bit more tanky. In the earlier stages, it's just kind of rough for survivability unless you get good rolls on like all resistance or armor rolls. We're even running Juggernauts right now in our amulet, but we can get more damage with this build later once we kind of swap off things. But we're going to max out Cataclysm. We get Catastrophe, all of the shape-shifting stuff, and we automatically shapeshift because it converts us every single time back into werewolf form, and then we force ourselves to be in werebear when we go smack someone with our maul. Then we're on Earth Sign Strength, so it's more HP and more damage. So as far as the gear goes, let's go over the gear now. So we're running Tempest Roar, again, that will convert our stuff, and then we're running Mad Wolf's Glee. The only thing that's really important is that we get plus ranks of our werewolf skills, but again, if I had Tyrael's or Shroud of False Death, I would instantly swap to that. You can even run Harlequin here. There's a lot of different things that you can play, but I want to make a non-mythic version and a quick little draft because, again, it was just asked again and again for the build guide, and I don't even have my things tempered. You guys saw, like I said, my things are literally level 1, and I only have 3 out of 5 of the glyphs. So this is like a super early version, but again, it's just easy out there for like World Tier 4. You just, again, walking simulator is the goal of this build. So for our first aspect, by the way, you do want to try to get armor in areas that you can. I'm actually overcapped on armor, so we could probably look at getting some extra resistances because I'm not res capped right now. But what we want is Vehemence, so that's going to give us extra damage, and it gives us ultimate skill points. By the way, another thing is that if you look at it, it says 11, but it doesn't count some of the stuff because it doesn't convert us into like the werewolf, and it doesn't give us the +2. Some of these will not activate unless you're outside of town, so don't try to look at this number until you're outside of town. But yeah, this will give us plus ranks, which will kind of help out, smooth out the like duration and the cooldown reduction and the damage with it. Really, really good stuff. And then we want Storm Shifters. This is going to give us plus ranks to our shape-shifting skills, which it works with our Tempest Roar to give us extra ranks of Cataclysm. And then we also run a Flicker Step. This is going to facilitate a big amount of ultimate damage. That's the only thing that's important here. But if you really need the extra cooldown reduction, you could do the little evade thing. I hate doing that, so I don't even bother doing it. You guys can see from the gameplay, you don't need to use this at all. You can keep on activating it, as long as you have the cooldown reduction, which we will have with this. If you don't want to get the cooldown reduction and you want to get even more damage, by all means, go for it. But then you will then have to like kind of dodge through things. And I find that personally to be kind of a gimmick, and I want this to be like a lazy, beginner-friendly build, so I decided we didn't even need it. As far as it goes, I like running a one-hander here. So you can run a two-handed Applejack. So this is going to give us more damage with our ultimate skills. It's a brand new thing for Season 7. And ideally, we want to get the Cataclysm can deal double damage. It is all over here in terms of like the build guide. It has all the correct stuff. You want that weapon chance for Cataclysm to deal double damage. I don't even have the thing here, and you guys can see the build is super OP already. But getting Overpower damage is great, so you can get a mace on that, but that's what you want. And then in the offhand, I like to run the Totem. And the reason why I prefer running the Totem over a two-hander is because you get maximum resource. Max resource equals a damage multiplier, which is great. And then we're running Rune Workers in this one over here. And then the one ring that you have to run is Minoric Ring. It's mandatory. You only need that Cataclysm to get the biggest number possible. I don't even have a greater affix one. That's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Just the 100x is the most important thing. And also makes it so Cataclysm receives the Lightning Bolt benefits. Then we have Eridas and our Will, which will give us the ability to have extra cooldown on our ultimate. That's like kind of the good thing that you want. The rest of stats, honestly, that really don't matter. But getting willpower would be a nicer, greater affix if you can get one, or cooldown reduction. Those are both great stats. And then I'm running Juggernauts in my amulet right now because without it, well, I would simply not have my armor. So I really need this for that. You could also temper on pieces of gear to get percent extra armor. That would be ideal. Heck, like I said, I have damage to close here, but you can get damage to close distance that will activate on your Paragon board, but later you pretty much won't need it once you have enough Paragon points to get the things that you need. So yeah, we're going to run this over here. So Juggernauts is key to get us that amount of armor. Otherwise, we'll get one-shotted. You need to be armor capped, res capped, a little bit more in the optional sort of things in this game. But as far as the gear, that is going to be it for the gear. As far as the Witchcraft powers go, we run Vengeful Spirit because we want to be tanky. We're also running this for extra tankiness. Later you can drop these, but again, because this build has so many uniques, the stat pressure is pretty hard to require all like the armor and max life rolls. Ideally, you try to get those GA or the all resistances. So this will make it a lot more beginner friendly. So I'm running these here, and then we're running Force of Will, so more damage. Ideally, you want to get this to at least rank 4. The reason why I want this rank 4, now that I didn't even have a rank 4, is it because it makes the next 2 skills overpower versus 1. So that allows you to snapshot a little bit better, because how it works is you're going to be killing the stuff, and you want to be able to hit Hurricane while you still happen to have Cataclysm maybe going off, and then you would be able to get more kills. It gives you another 100x damage. I mean, there's nothing else is going to give you really that much numbers. And then we have Aura of Siphoning. This activates poison, plus it heals us, so survivability good. Hex of Shattering, some damage reduction, because their Witchcraft effects will do Hex of Shattering. It just makes them... It makes you take less damage. And then we have the Poison Frog Servant. Now, in the build guide, I actually talk about the thing where it makes, this is actually pretty good, specialization, where you get extra crit damage because we have 100% crit. You could run this, but this is one of those like forgotten powers, and honestly, getting some of these powers is a little bit more difficult. So these ones are all like beginner friendly. You can just get these ones really early on, but if you happen to have the other ones that I mentioned in the build guide, go for those ones. They are better. It's just, again, beginner-friendly version, right? And then as far as the Paragon board, let's go ahead and hop into that. So keep in mind, guys, I'm going to recommend you, once again, to check the pinned and the link in the bio on TikTok for specifically the correct sorting of these, because the way I have this oriented right now is, I don't happen to have all the glyph sockets, but this is what I'm running right now, just so it's a one-to-one, so you see what you get in terms of like what I was playing with to just one-shot everything in World Tier 4. So we are running Keeper on the first one, then it is in Survival Instincts, and we are running Spirit. And then we run Lust for Carnage with Electrocution. This one over here, we just have Thunderstruck. This is why I was mentioning the damage versus close and distance. You can run those are great. And then ideally we'd have another one over here. Again, check the planner, it'll have like the correct stuff. It's just that right now, this is all I had in terms of points. The build would pretty much cap around 230 50 in terms of the Paragon points is what you'd want, and once you're at that point, the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter as much. It's kind of just like small additive damage. But getting Ancestral Guidance has also got a buff in Season 7, and the buff is that their ultimate skills do more increased damage per spirit. That's why I personally like running the offhand, which could also roll cooldown reduction, so it's a lot more beginner friendly, and it's still going to give you a multiplier. If you get a GA on the resource, it's going to give you even more damage. There's very few things that will give you like X damage here, but obviously getting Overpower is great, but if you want to run a two-hander with the Applejack, go for it. And then you can put Rune Workers in, let's say, your Amulet. That is an option here as well. But once we get like the Mythics, a lot of things will definitely be changing. Again, like I said, check this one over here if you want all of the stuff that I would mention. Oh, also, I don't happen to have the gems, but the gems are absolutely insanely powerful. I wanted more survivability, so I went with Moonlight, Voice of Stars, and Wicked Pact, but again, I don't have those in the gameplay, but you can see you can literally run a walking simulator and just delete stuff, and this way you guys have like an earlier build guide, and I'll be updating this guide and make a more proper build guide with all of like the best stuff in gameplay. But since I'm already one-shotting everything in World Tier 4, and you have to do a lot of these like Restless Rot runs anyways, I figured I'll give you guys the build because you guys wanted it earlier, and this way you guys can build it, and then we will work into the Mythic one with a more proper build guide in the future. But if there's any questions, let me know down below, and if there's any ways to improve the build, let me know as well. But sub if you want to see the updated build guide to like the walking simulator, just one-shotting World Tier 4. Now, you can also do bosses and pushing with this, but I think the main focus that I want to do right now is let everyone be able to try to get their build up and running, and then we can talk about more about min-maxing with the Mythics, because you know, day one or weekend one, it is going to be a little bit rough to get all of the Mythics. But yeah, Shroud of False Death, Harlequin, those are all great options that you can add to the build that will significantly increase the DPS. Heck, even running things like in the Amulet, you can even run the Amulet, the Mythic one, Melted Heart Solid, because that gives you a bunch, it gives you plus 60 resource, which is another 60x damage with the build, which could be something to consider, and it also will give you a decent amount to like max res. So there's a little bit of play here with some other Mythics that may not see some play, but ideally I really want to swap off of these and run, again, Shroud of False Death is like so godly in the game, but again, it's another Mythic. Anyways, I'll update you guys in the future with a build guide, but if there's any questions on, oh, I almost forgot. But I remembered. Hold on, we're not done. The Spirit Boons. So Spirit Boons, important thing. You can run Wariness or Gift to the Stag. This gives us extra damage. And then we run Iron Feather with max life, and then crit strike damage, because we already have 100% crit, and we don't need attack speed because it just kind of activates. We want Calamity for extended duration of our ultimate, as well as Calm Before the Storm. Okay, didn't forget that. Anyways, we'll be updating this guide later, so again, sub if you want to see it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one. Peace out.